here in Denver. Make some noise, everybody, for Will Frank. Will Frank, everybody, put your hands together. Will Frank, everybody.
How's everybody doing today? All right, yeah. I'm glad to be here in Colorado. I'm originally from Florida, but I had to leave there because Florida fucking sucks. And you know, people look at you like you are attracted to kids when you say you don't like Florida. I don't get it. Because they're like, well, you know, when I went there to visit and hung out, and I'm like, yeah, you went there to fucking visit, you didn't live there. I mean, the thing is, I was there for 19 years. Joined the Air Force at 19, never looked back. All right? Served my country. But the thing is, I don't like Florida for 3 reasons. The humidity, the hurricanes, and the fucking people. All right? So when we talk about humidity, everything is always hot, sticky, or wet. And the only thing I like in my life that's hot, sticky, and wet is sex, okay? Other than that, I'm good. And then the hurricane. Every summer, the weather gets together with the ocean and tries to kill everybody in the fucking state. Seriously, you don't have to be a meteorologist to figure this out. When they say a tropical storm, a depression, a hurricane, and the weatherman's like, I wonder where it's going. Fucking Florida. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it's going to Florida. The weatherman does. Florida knows it's going to fucking Florida. So why are we even asking that? Freaking, you know, board up your goddamn windows and hope you don't goddamn die. And then the people. Florida is a really fucked up state. I mean, you realize how many crazy fucking Florida man stories there are on the goddamn internet? And another thing people don't realize is that crazy people go to Florida to find out what's the newest, latest crazy trend so they can go back to their state and figure some shit out. I mean, if you ever look at a story where somebody's in New York, Texas, or California, and they went into a 7-Eleven butt-ass naked in the middle of the day, robbed it, and was able to elude 8 police cars and a helicopter riding on a fucking ostrich, that's Florida. They stole that shit from us. And I mean, Florida is such a wild and crazy place that I hate going back there, and it pisses off my family and my friends, and then my mom gets in on it as well. Remember a couple of months ago, I'm talking with my mom, and my mom was like, you know what? I think the only time we're gonna see you is when somebody dies. And I said, hold up, Mom, you're getting a little overzealous now. I'm not going to Florida just because somebody happens to die. It would have to be the right relative. And she's like, what do you mean by the right relative? I said, well, somebody I love, somebody I care about, somebody I'm actually gonna miss when they die. And she goes, okay, well, what happens if the wrong relative dies? And I said, well, I found out recently that Popeyes does DoorDash. So I can send you guys a bucket of chicken, and I can email you a couple of Dollar General gift cards. And she's getting pissed now. And she's like, okay, son, well, which relative am I? And you know what? I didn't answer. I hung up the phone, I blocked her number, and I went out with the rest of my day. And then, you know, what is going on with these fucking planes, man? I mean, this is crazy. I thought the Wright brothers had already had this shit figured out. You got planes crashing into each other, slamming into the ground, flipping over and on fire and everything. Now, I know that most people will get in their car and drive it with the check engine light on, but you're not supposed to do that with a fucking airplane. And then you got to think about it too. The cockpit, you got the pilot, you got the co-pilot, you got the autopilot. Somebody should go, this shit don't look right, we shouldn't be going anywhere. And I mean, it's just so crazy because I'm afraid to get on a plane and it's fucking up my life, all right? For instance, my son, he got stationed in Japan a couple of months ago. And we're talking on the phone over the weekend. He's like, Dad, I love you, I miss you. Come to Tokyo and visit me. And I said, well, son, I love you and I miss you too, but I don't love you that much. Because I am not getting on a freaking plane and flying over the ocean right now. I'm not doing that. In fact, the only way my son is gonna see me is if I catch a tailwind and I start flapping my fucking arms hard enough to get across the ocean. That is it. My gosh. Whew. Now, I tell you though, I mean, I don't know how old the crowd is here, but I'm gonna tell you that I'm old. I'm in my 50s. I got a young face, but I got old features, all right? And I'm a member of Generation X, and I can definitely say that I think that we are, or were, because some of us are fucking dead, was the toughest generation of kids because we were latchkey kids. I don't know if any of you guys heard about that, but latchkey kids was something that in 2025 they would call child abuse and neglect, all right? Because basically, in order to be a latchkey kid, your parents had to be gone for at least 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And what they would do is they would give us a key, and they'd tie it around our neck or pin it in our shirt or our book bag or in our pocket, and then they would just go the fuck away. I remember having to get up for school and make breakfast, find a way there, do all my schoolwork, come home, make dinner, you know, do chores and everything, and wait for my parents to get home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I was fucking 7 years old. And the thing is, you know, we were tough. We were tougher than a lot of the young kids out here nowadays, because I guarantee you, there's some 20-year-old right now that would not be able to find their way home if that fucking cell phone died. They'd be like, where the fuck am I? I grew up in a traditional black family, you know, and there was a lot of kids around, so I mean, a lot of people didn't like to use birth control or anything. So if you like the fuck, that means you're gonna have a lot of kids. And it was great growing up because, you know, I had a big family. I was the youngest of 7 kids, but well, so I thought, but I'll tell you about that later. So I thought I was the youngest of 7 kids. All right. Having fun, hanging out, and my aunts and uncles and everybody would come over and visit us, and they would bring all their kids over. And our backyard looked like recess at a charter school, just all kinds of kids running around and playing and having fun and hanging out, and it was great. And you know, another thing about being from a large black Southern family is that the generations were kind of strange, you know, because the parents would have kids and they would stop, and then those kids would have kids. And then the parents would either divorce and start an entirely new family, or they started having kids. So I ended up growing up around people that I shouldn't even been around. Let me just explain it like this. If you went to high school with your niece and nephew and people thought you were cousins, or you were able to babysit your aunt because you were 12 when she was born, you get my fucking point. I mean, our family tree, the branches on it were more like a French braid or cornrow because the generations were all tied up and twisted up in there. And then we had that one aunt that everybody, you know, suspected was, you know, out there playing her game, you know. And I'm young, so I just think that everything is normal. I'm hanging out with my cousins, so let me explain that to you. My aunt would pull up to the house, and she had 6 kids. And she had a light-skinned kid, a dark-skinned kid, a cute kid, an ugly kid, a skinny kid, and a fat kid. And I'm thinking, it doesn't matter, they're all my cousins, right? But then once I start to realize that all these kids look different, and there was never a man around, so I started to deduce that my aunt was a hoe. Oh my gosh. She was out there getting it in, and I'm sitting up here and playing with all these little bastard cousins and everything. It was freaking nuts. But I tell you another thing though is that in these large families like that, people have secrets. Secrets they try to hide from everybody, and you end up finding out years later, and it's traumatic, and it's gonna fuck you up. Case in point, in 2017, at the age of 47, I found out that I had a little brother. But he wasn't a little brother. He was 20 months younger than me. He grew up 15 minutes away, and we went to rival high schools. And here's the kicker. My dad knew about it the whole time. What the fuck? And so we find out about each other, and my dad tries to deny it. But then we freaking meet right there at the parking lot of the clinic because we're going to get the DNA testing done. And I get out the car, and this stranger that is supposed to be my brother gets out of the car, and he looks just like my dad. I'm like, this is fucked up. Because my dad was obviously pregnant with you, and nobody in the family fucking knew. And also, you gotta be a strange and twisted individual to keep a secret like that for 45 fucking years. I mean, I only know 3 people that could do that. They're either a pathological liar, a fucking serial killer, or they're in the CIA. And my dad was neither 3. So then we go into the clinic, and the lady looks at us and starts laughing. She was like, which parent doesn't think that you 2 are brothers? And I say, the dad, and she goes, yeah, we get that a lot. And so we take the test, and then guess what? Yeah, 99.9998% we are brothers. We show it to my dad, and my dad is like, doesn't say 100%. I'm like, really? And you know, the thing that messes me up is that I grew up and I had a bunch of older sisters, and I used to go to my dad and I would be crying about it, going, Dad, you know, it sucks that, you know, all I got are these older sisters and everything. I wish I had a brother. My dad's like, well, that's just the way it is. No, that's just the way you wanted it to be, you fucker. And so, you know, once the story gets out and everybody's going, wow, you know, that is traumatic, and I can understand that, you know, you'd be upset because you lost all that time. And the thing is, I wasn't mad that I lost that time with my brother. I was mad because I got my ass kicked almost every day in high school, and I could have some fucking backup. Well, that's my time, everybody. Thank you.
That was Will Frank, everybody. How about some love for our Will Frank? Will Frank. Listen, we got 2 quick drop-in spots before your headliner. These guys are regulars all around.